Hey, welcome to Sports and Politics with T. I am your host, Tanya, and tonight we have made it back to Monday. Guess what, guys? It is already halfway the month already. And we're going to get going tonight. We're going to talk about a few things that's transpired over the weekend. But first, I want to say hey to all my subscribers. Listen, guys, we had a great time on Friday night with the basketball and Saturday. Had a lot of interaction, a lot of people joining the channel. Thank you again to everybody who's joined my channel. Thanks to everybody who has supported my channel and just reached out with comments and sharing and liking of everything that I'm doing. All of that helps this channel, okay? Again, welcome to all the new subscribers and all the ones that's already subscribed. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We had, again, like I said, Saturday. It was fun. We enjoyed ourselves. We're going to do it again this coming Friday, where we're going to keep going with the basketball, because the more we get into it, the more intense it's going to be. Okay? But anyway, tonight we're going to talk about Trump and some of the things that they are discussing. I think Ukraine, Zelensky has already said that he wants to do a ceasefire. They don't want a war anymore with Russia. However, we're going to talk about Trump because this last press conference that he did, let's just say he threw some shade to Zelensky and the Ukraine people. Some of the things that he was saying, you could tell he was trying to take some shots at him. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the first thing while he's addressing some things about the ceasefire agreement.
You don't want to pick on somebody that's a lot larger than you, even with the money. There's a lot of money that we gave them and a lot of equipment. We make the best military equipment in the world, but even with all of that, it's unbelievable. Right now you have a lot of Ukrainian soldiers that are encircled and in grave danger, and I've asked them not to kill those soldiers, please, not to kill those soldiers. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Pam, very much. What a job you're doing. And it's a true honor to be with you today. This is a storied hall, if there ever was one. And based on the crowd, I think we broke the all-time record. But as we begin a proud new chapter in the chronicles of American justice, this really is something. We're turning the page on 4 long years of corruption, weaponization, and surrender to violent criminals, and we're restoring fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law. And you're the people that are doing it. I'm very, very proud of all of you. Under the Trump administration, the DOJ and the FBI will once again become the premier crime-fighting agencies on the face of the earth. For generations, the Federal Department of Justice was one of America's most revered institutions. The men and women of the DOJ brought down the mafia, hunted down the killers, kingpins, and spies, tracked down terrorists and traitors, and tore down corrupt political machines all across America. This department commanded the respect and admiration of the entire world. And with Pam and Cash and all of the people I introduced and far more, big numbers, and all of you sitting back there, I recognize so many of you. But with you leading the way, it'll soon be the most admired and most respected of all. You're going to be more respected, and I really believe that there's also a lot of things to solve, a lot of problems to solve. But that's going to put you in the upper tier and maybe the top tier, and I believe that's going to happen. I'm so proud of the people in this room. But first, we must be honest about the lies and abuses that have occurred within these walls. Unfortunately, in recent years, a corrupt group of hacks and radicals within the ranks of the American government obliterated the trust and goodwill built up over generations. They weaponized the vast powers of our intelligence and law enforcement agencies to try and thwart the will of the American people. You remember the 51 intelligence agents that said, as an example, that Hunter Biden's laptop from hell came from Russia, when they knew it came right from his bedroom. They knew that. It was a big lie, and they knew it so well.
Okay,
they spied
let's stop
on my
right
campaign.
there. Stop right there. Okay, see, this is what I'm talking about right here, guys. Now, he came in, he wants to do a speech about Zelensky, and you see how he drifts off and start talking about Biden. Listen, you're the president, okay? It's just like when Biden took office, everybody kept saying, "Oh, you can't blame Trump now. You can't blame Trump. He's gone." Okay? It's we done turned the page now. Now you're it. Okay? We can't keep doing this. Now see, you see how now he wants to revert back to Biden. But when Biden had taken office, nobody wanted him to start blaming Trump about stuff. They had said, no, Trump is gone. It's your presidency. Well, that's what we're going to say to you. This is your presidency. Okay? So, again, he really doesn't know what he's doing, guys. And it's very, very obvious, as you can see. You know, if you're the president, then speak as if you're the president right now. Stop living in the past. People have moved forward. People have voted you in. Why are we still talking about Joe Biden? Okay, we all know it wasn't his fault. All right. So anyway, let's just keep going.
It's really changing law, and it just cannot be legal. I don't believe it's legal. And they do it in total coordination with each other. And everything we do, we're restoring law, restoring order, and restoring public safety in America. That's what we want to do. And we're bringing honor and integrity and accountability back to the highest levels of the FBI, DOJ, and throughout our government. I think we're doing well, as you have been hearing about Ukraine. I think we're doing now well with Russia. We're speaking with President Putin. We want to get the war over. Not only have we spent maybe $350 billion to Europe's, think of that, $350 billion to $100 billion, and yet we're across the ocean far away, so it shouldn't have been that way, but Biden let that happen too. And we're getting a deal where we're going to get that back, but much more importantly are the lives that we're talking about. On average, 2,000 young people are being killed every single day. Now, they're not from here. They're from nowhere close to here, but they're young people. They're human beings, and they have parents. They have sisters and brothers, the mothers and fathers, the friends and the families and the towns where they grew up. And they're losing, on average, 2,000, even 2,500 a week. And I want to get it stopped. And we've had some very good calls today with Russia. And with Ukraine, they've agreed for a ceasefire if we can get it with Russia. And it's not easy. It's a tough one. But I think we're doing it. And as the Secretary General said yesterday of NATO, a terrific guy, he said without Trump, we wouldn't be talking about it. It would just go on for years, and millions of people have been killed, but millions more people would be killed. And he said it was a great honor. Without me, it would just keep going on. We're looking for the ceasefire now with Russia, and we've had some very good talks about it. We've had some very good responses, but we had a good relationship, and we had a professional relationship, and his respect for this country. And I think we've had some very good results. So, you know, I haven't been able to say that to anybody else. I haven't wanted to say it until just before I came here. I got some pretty good news. So, but we have to see what happens. It's still a long way to go. The fighting is unbelievable. Russia has a large group of Ukrainian soldiers, as we speak, surrounded and in grave danger. They've been able to surround them. They're in grave danger. Biden should have never let this war happen. First of all, you don't want to pick on somebody that's a lot larger than you, even with the money. There's a lot of money that we gave them and a lot of equipment. We make the best military equipment in the world, but even with all of that, it's unbelievable. Right now you have a lot of Ukrainian soldiers that are encircled and in grave danger, and I've asked them not to kill those soldiers, please, not to kill those soldiers. We don't want them killed. It's such a shame to see what's happened. A thing like that would have never happened. Inflation would have never happened. October 7th would have never happened. Israel.
All right. So do you hear how he's constantly bragging about if everybody is just tooting he just can't help boosting his ego when everybody knows the truth. It's almost like he wants to still drag Biden into this. Listen, Biden is gone. Okay, this is going into your third month now. So look, why are we talking about the past? If you're coming, this is my thing. If you're coming up with a deal, okay, let's talk about that. Okay, let's talk about why you just said with your own mouth that it was difficult, but then in the same breath say, "Oh, we're doing such a great job." But then you see how he almost kind of picked on Zelensky and Ukraine, talking about you don't want to mess with people that's bigger than you. Well, first of all, Russia is the one that started all this mess. They invaded Ukraine. What was Ukraine supposed to do? Just sit back and just let them take over their country? No, ma'am, or no, sir. I mean, that's any country. Any country that's feeling threatened is going to fight back. So, I can see if Ukraine tried to start something with Russia. But no, Russia is the one that invaded Ukraine because they wanted to take over Ukraine and make it Russia. You know what I'm saying? So he's got this backwards. And see, he's making Zelensky look like he's weak. Like they're giving up. And I think that was one of the reasons why Zelensky didn't want the ceasefire. He wanted to continue to fight, even though deep down he knew he probably couldn't win. But it's just like anybody, why would I want to just surrender? Basically is what that's about. And you see right on camera how he's almost, to me, it's almost like he kind of is on the side of Putin to me. Now, that's just my opinion. And I've seen Putin and Trump together a long time ago, how they interact with each other. To me, I feel like they got a lot of business dealings together. And I feel like they could be buddies. But that's just my opinion. The way they interact, you go back and watch some of those old videos where Putin and Trump is walking together. They seem like they're the best of buddies. So, but if you see where he was with Zelensky, he was like making him look bad, and it was almost like it's almost like he kind of favors Russia. That's just my opinion. And don't get me wrong, Russia is bigger. They got a whole lot more military. They got nuclear. We get that. But at the same time, you would want to help people if they need help, so anyway, I just want you to see how his ego just manifests right on TV. So you can see he's got to be the limelight. Take yourself out of the equation for a change. Think about just getting this done and let's just move forward. Okay? That's all I'm saying. But anyway, let's move on to the next thing, because listen, the farmers are still hurting. Now, we've heard from the white and Caucasian farmers about how it's going to affect them. But let's listen in on some of the black farmers that really is going to be hurt by this. This is on the Don Lemon Show. And you can see some concern about how they are perceiving this as far as the policies that's affecting them.
Welcome to the Don Lemon Show. So glad you can join us. We have a very special episode for you today. Farmers and meat producers all across the U.S. can expect the on again, off again, really, tariffs on Mexico, on Canada, on China, and the retaliatory action from those countries to hurt their bottom lines by billions of dollars if they stay in place a while. And consumers, well, they could quickly see higher prices for produce and ground beef. Lots of stuff. There are a lot of things that are going to be affected by this. Farmers specifically, especially. I have the perfect guest today to talk about all this, and that's Mr. John Boyd Jr. is a fourth-generation black farmer, a civil rights activist, and the founder of the National Black Farmers Association, NBFA. John, thank you, sir. How are you?
Thank you, Don. Thank you so much for having me, and so very very fortunate to be a guest of yours. So it's good for the American people to hear this story.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's always an honor. Listen, this isn't our first time at the rodeo, as they say. You and I have spoken about this because you remember back during the first administration, there were tariffs in place. We'll talk about it, but let's talk about now. When Donald Trump says, I'm going to add tariffs, but he doesn't believe that there are attacks on the American consumer or that there's danger, imminent danger for U.S. farmers, what do you say to that?
Well, the president has a way of saying stuff all the time, Don. And recently, in his joint address to Congress, he said he loves farmers. Is his exact words, or something like that, to that effect. And here, the very people that, in this case, 99%, Don, of white farmers voted for this president, are the very first persons in line to get affected by this president. He came right in, imposing tariffs and threatening tariffs and really causing a state of emergency for farmers in this country. Really chaotic the way he does it, Don. One day the tariffs are on, the next day they're off. But what it does for the American farmers and black farmers is it plays with the market. All the three major commodities in this country, corn, wheat, and soybeans, he threatens tariffs to Mexico, which is the number one purchaser of U.S.-grown corn. He threatened tariffs to China, the number one purchaser of U.S.-grown soybean production in this country, and I raised both of those commodities. And right now, the price is down based on all the rhetoric from the president and the issues at the United States Department of Agriculture, where the president came in and said there'd be immediate relief, day one help for America's farmers. $30 billion lies dormant at USDA, not moving, and it's the beginning of planting season for American farmers.
Yeah. But bottom line, what does that mean to you? And then we'll talk about black farmers specifically. What does that mean for farmers in general? You said they're the first in line. You mean the first in line to be affected negatively by these tariffs?
First in line to be affected negatively, excuse me, Don, and the very first people that the president took aim at was his base in all of these red states. I want to be very clear. These are people that had pasteboard signs out here in southern part of Virginia with Trump. These farmers held rallies and meetings on their farms, and he went after them quickly and used them as a ploy, a bargaining ploy with these other countries, not even taking into effect of what he would be causing them and their farming operation. Don, if you don't get farm operating loans and you have poor price commodities on corn, wheat, and soybeans, you wind up in foreclosure or on an auction block. So the president said in his speech, it's going to be a few bumps in the road and just give him a little time. Farmers don't have time. Now, we have the beginning of planting season, which is right now, and then we have harvest. We have to get those two times correct, and there's very little margin of error for planting season. And farmers don't have operating loans in place because the government has frozen programs at USDA. They came right in, Don, this president did, and fired everybody at USDA that had anything to do with equity, DEI. All those people went on day one. Totally erasing 4 decades of work that I put into getting those positions there at USDA. He came right in without the involvement of Congress and totally sent all those people home with some nasty email and a one-pager.
Why is that important that people know what you're talking about, what you're talking about right now?
It's important because USDA has never been a friend to America's black farmers. The reason why we got DEI is because we had master farmers, my daddy called himself, that wasn't being able to get loans on time. 387 days on average for USDA to process a black farmer's loan request. Less than 30 days, Don, to process a white farm loan request. I've been spat on by the county person there who's supposed to be making us loans. I've been called the N-word. And in the 80s, we still had to come in the back door way after integration down. A line of us would be lined up out there. We all knew each other, and we never spoke about how poorly we were being treated by USDA. So here's a real agency who's never lent us any money, put our farms in inventory and pretty much gave them to white farmers for a penny on a dime. And now this president comes in and says everything is going to be about merit. We don't need the Office of Civil Rights. We don't need a civil rights director in each agency. We don't need any of those things. USDA is going to make itself good on its own. That's why it's very important to have those positions there. A watchdog where farmers, if we've been treated badly, we can file a formal complaint and at least go through that process. This president came in and said, we don't need any of that stuff. So it's like the Wild Wild West. And he threw all of this stuff up on the wall so fast, Don, that he didn't give the American people enough time to react. I think white people that supported him are even in great shock that how fast this president came in and just dismantled America by its core roots here.
And see, that's the issue too. You know, it's one thing to dismantle things, but what are you going to put in place? You know, you can't just go in and start destroying all these departments and all these fundings for things. That's not going to make America great again. It's not. You know, he keeps saying, oh, it's just going to be a temporary. But like this man said, farmers don't have time. You know, it's either sowing and reaping. You know, we got a certain time to sow and a certain time to harvest and reap. So they can't just wait, you know, because they'll miss the opportunity to profit, you know. And not only that, that affects us too. Like I said before, when they can't get the crops to harvest, guess what? That means there's going to be a shortage of food, which means more higher prices in the stores, you know. So it's just exhausting. You know, like I said, I don't think they thought things through. In their mind, they feel like they're cutting money, but I feel like they're going to be starting to spend more money because now these farmers are going to have to go out, get loans other places, you know, and it's like, you don't have time, like this black farmer was saying. So anyway.
Well, a couple of things. I want you to hold on to that. I don't want to forget because you said, let me write that down. Because when things happen, you know, they're talking about merit now, right?
Yes.
And everything should be merit-based. But America hasn't always been merit-based. The white farmers, as tough as it is for white farmers, it's tough for all farmers, right?
Yes, it is.
But considering the history of this country, right, there's a history, and the history affects the present and the future, okay?
Yes.
Black farmers are always hit hardest when in downturns, and don't necessarily reap the reward when there's an upturn. Can you talk to our viewers about that? When they say merit-based and, you know, everybody, this should all be equal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right now, they've decided that. That's what. But I don't know if America's ever been merit-based or the farming industry. But go on.
It hasn't been merit-based. A couple of things here. I want to bring it right in your face today. $30 billion the last Congress passed to help America's farmers. And this administration is now in charge of dispersing those funds. Black farmers are not on grid, Don. That means they don't have farm serial numbers. That means that they haven't done business within USDA within the past 5 years. They haven't reported their crops. None of that persons that I just described will be eligible to take part in this $30 billion. I understand this stuff. And people say, well, why? It's because we've been slaves on American soil. We've been sharecroppers on American soil. And they put all of our land in inventory, like I just described under the Jimmy Carter administration, when they said, oh, it's great for blacks to come in and do business and trust the government now. Many black farmers got their deeds of trust tied up with USDA for a minuscule amount of money and wound up in foreclosure and their land in federal inventory. Because of all of that bad history.
Wait, what does that mean when their land's in federal inventory? Explain what that means.
Oh, it's in inventory. That's the same inventory that this president today wants to give white farmers in South Africa. They land out of federal inventory and grazing land out of the Department of Interior. So the president wants to bring South African farmers who are white, WHITE, bring them to this country and a homestead type program and give them your land out of inventory and grazing land. But they want to say that it's equal and fair, Don, when they're taking other immigrants of color that look like me from Haiti and all these other places and sending them out by the boatloads right now as we speak. That's the type of merit that this president wants you to believe is fair and equal. It's
Why white farmers from South Africa?
Well, he's saying that they faced discrimination.
Elon Musk has said that as well.
The president, yeah, he said it here recently, within the past few hours, that he wanted to bring the white farmers. He's going to bring them in right now and give them a pathway to citizenship right now. And really, Don, I call it a land grab. And black farmers had, when they put our land into inventory, they've done it through, my daddy always said on it, they do it legally, through a program called Lease Back Buyback Program. The government touted it as a way to help small black farmers in this country. And they used that law really to take the land from blacks around the country, small scale black farmers, put their land into federal inventory and said, we're going to lease it back to you until you can pay for it. That never happened. And we had 1.5 million acres in federal inventory that came from black farmers in this country, that the administration wound up leasing to white farmers for a penny on a dollar and selling most of the land to large-scale white farmers on a county committee for a penny on a dollar. So this is really an untold saga of what happened to blacks in this country. So every time I see the president says we don't need race-based, all of this stuff, it's really fancy terminology of doing away with blacks. So they change our name every 10 years now. Socially disadvantaged farmers of color, minority farmers. And now they classify us as DEI. Many black businesses and rural communities don't even know what DEI means. So they put you in that box and the president says everything with DEI. I said it in the speech the other night. We're completely doing away with that. Well, people, that's black farmers too.
Well, listen, a couple things here, okay? Because
all right, guys, so I want you to hear his explanation about how it's affecting blacks as far as black farmers, because you always hear the white side and you always hear the DEI and but you see right here, even USDA, it was never fair and it still isn't. This man said he got spat on in the 80s. I'm thinking like, what? I mean, but you know what? It's not even a surprise. It's not, because that's where we are. He just said that they're just trying to rename it. Now it's not minority farmers. Now it's DEI farmers. And guess what? He's coming in trying to wipe all that away and give it to another group. So it's something's got to be done about this. I think it's against the law, but hopefully this man has an attorney or someone that could help him get through all of this, because it's going to be a mess. I told y'all from day one, it is going to be a long 4 years, and we haven't even seen nothing yet, so. But yes, guys, well, I am going to go ahead and wrap it up for tonight. Join me on Thursday. We're going to get back into the politics again and kind of continue where we left off from tonight, okay? Also, if you've enjoyed the content, please hit like, share, and subscribe. And also hit the notification bell. That way you're always in the loop when I come on to YouTube. We'll have those episodes coming every Monday and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Okay? All right. Well, everybody enjoy the rest of your day. And I will see everyone back on Thursday at 8 p.m. Everyone take care. Have a good night.